My wife said, "I'm keeping the house and half." I replied, "Keep it all." Then I sold the house and Lexus to my mother, moved my company with my lawyer, walked into court ready, and I just smiled because she was about to learn none of it had been mine for months. My wife said, "I am keeping the house, the Lexus, and half your company. You can keep your tools." I smiled and said, "Keep it all." What she didn't know was that she was trying to claim assets that stopped being mine 6 months ago. Let me explain how I legally outmaneuvered someone who thought they had me cornered. I am still processing this whole thing. Honestly, I am 31, own a home renovation business here in Colorado, and I thought I had a solid marriage with Tara, my wife of 5 years. She is 30, used to sell real estate before the pandemic hit, and she lost her job. I have a daughter, Emily, from my first marriage, who is 24 now and helps with my business accounting. About 6 months ago, things started getting weird with Tara. She had been out of work since the pandemic hit, and the wine club started as networking for her real estate comeback, but it quickly turned into late bills and sharper fights about money. 3 meetings a week became her escape, always with her phone face down during dinner, getting dressed up for grocery runs. You know that gut feeling when someone's avoiding reality? That was eating at me every single day. The breaking point came when my best friend Brent texted me a photo. There was Tara at some upscale wine bar sitting way too close to this younger guy in a bank uniform, her hand on his arm. My stomach just dropped. I mean, I have been divorced before, so I know the signs, but seeing it in a photograph made everything real. Instead of confronting her right away, I did something that probably saved my life. I called my mother. Now my mom, Deanne, is 75 but sharp as a tack. She used to work as a financial controller and still has that no-nonsense attitude about money and people. When I told her what was happening, she didn't even pause. "John," she said, "if you think she is planning something, then you better plan faster." That conversation changed everything. Mom connected me with Harper Lee, this family attorney who has been handling our legal stuff for years. Harper is direct, ruthless when she needs to be, and she gave me advice that probably saved my business and my sanity. "If you think she will come for your assets," Harper told me, "move them legally. Sell everything to your mother at fair market value. Get proper paperwork, receipts, make it all completely clean and legitimate." Over the next 2 months, while Tara was getting cozy with her banker boyfriend, I was quietly restructuring my entire financial life. I sold our house to my mother for $410,000. Real money changed hands. Everything was notarized and recorded with the county. Then I sold Tara's Lexus to Mom for $28,000. Every transaction was at fair market value, completely above board, the beautiful part. Mom immediately offered to lease the house back to me. We settled on $600 per m with a proper lease agreement, below market rate, but reasonable enough to avoid any appearance of a sham transaction. I kept my work truck under my business name where it had always been. I moved all the funds to a separate account that Tara had never known about. Everything was legal, documented, and absolutely bulletproof. 6 months passed. Tara kept up her wine club routine, kept getting dressed up, kept acting like everything was normal between us. I played along, waiting to see what her next move would be. Then last week, she texted me. "We need to talk. Be home at 600. I walked into my own kitchen to find Tara sitting at the table with her boyfriend and some lawyer I had never seen before. The banker guy looked nervous, kept fidgeting with his coffee cup. Tara had this smug expression like she had just won the lottery. That is when she delivered her ultimatum. "I am keeping the house, the Lexus, and half your company. You can keep your tools." She said it like she was doing me a favor, like I should be grateful for her generosity. I just stood there for a moment processing the absurdity of it all. Here was my wife of 5 years sitting with her affair partner trying to take everything I had worked for. The funny thing is I wasn't even angry anymore. I was almost impressed by the audacity. "Keep it all," I said, grabbed my jacket and walked out. I drove straight to Harper's office while Tara was probably celebrating her victory with her boyfriend. 3 days later, I got served with divorce papers. She is demanding the house, the car, half my business, $4,000 a month in spousal support, and she wants me to pay her legal fees too. So, Reddit, am I crazy for thinking I handled this the right way? Part of me wonders if I should have tried to work things out. But seeing her with that guy, planning to destroy me financially, I don't know. I keep thinking about what my mom said about planning faster. Did I do the right thing by protecting myself, or am I just as manipulative as she is? The divorce papers are sitting on my kitchen table right now, and I have to respond within 30 days. Harper says, "We have a strong position, but I cannot shake this feeling that I am missing something." Tara seemed way too confident, like she knew something I didn't. Has anyone been through something like this? How do you deal with the guilt of strategically protecting yourself from someone you used to love? I am not sleeping well, and Emily keeps asking if I am okay. I don't even know how to answer that question anymore. Update 1. So Harper filed our response to Tara's divorce demands, and it was a thing of beauty. She laid out everything in cold legal language. The house and car are not marital assets because they were sold legally to my mother at fair market value 6 months before the divorce filing. She attached copies of the sale deeds, bank transfer records, and the lease agreement. Then she offered Tara exactly 50% of our joint checking account, which came to about $9,800. The business stays entirely mine because it was established before our marriage, and Tara never contributed labor or capital. Harper's letter was basically a masterclass in legal precision, and I could picture Tara's face when her lawyer had to explain what it all meant. But Tara didn't take it quietly. Oh no. She went full nuclear on social media. Posted this long rant on Facebook about how I was hiding assets, how I had been emotionally abusive, how I was trying to leave her with nothing. She painted this picture of herself as this innocent victim whose controlling husband had secretly stolen everything from under her nose. I almost didn't respond. Harper advised against engaging, but I couldn't let that narrative stand unchallenged. So, I posted one thing: links to the public county records showing the exact dates of all the property transfers. No commentary, no drama, just the facts. People could see for themselves that everything happened months before she even filed for divorce. The tide turned pretty quickly after that. People started asking questions. If I was so abusive and controlling, why didn't she notice I had sold the house? How do you not know your own car has been sold for 6 months? Some of her wine club friends started backing away from the whole thing. The best part, Tara's boyfriend, Nalin, apparently got called into a meeting with his bank's human resources department. Someone had reported that he was getting involved in private client financial matters through his relationship with Tara. He quietly resigned 2 weeks later. Turns out banks don't like their employees mixing business with pleasure, especially when it involves potential asset disputes. But Tara wasn't done escalating things. Last Monday night around 1:30 in the morning, I heard someone trying to get in through the front door. I grabbed a baseball bat and turned on the porch light, and there was Tara with a locksmith, claiming she lived there and had been locked out. I called the police immediately. When they showed up, I calmly handed the officer my lease agreement and my mother's deed to the property. Tara started screaming about how this was her home, how I had stolen it from her, how the cops needed to arrest me for theft. The officers were very professional, but you could see they weren't buying her story. "Madam," one of them said, "according to these documents, you have no legal right to be on this property. We need you to leave now, or we will have to arrest you for trespassing." She left, but not before screaming at me that this wasn't over, that she would see me in court, that I would regret ever crossing her. The neighbors were starting to come out of their houses, and I felt terrible that they had to witness all this drama. 2 days later, I got served again. This time, it was a restraining order. Tara claimed I had been harassing her, following her, making threatening phone calls. The problem with her story: I had been in Denver at a contractors conference for the past week, and I had receipts, hotel records, conference registration, even time-stamped photos with other contractors. When we showed up to the hearing, the judge took one look at my alibi documentation and dismissed the restraining order immediately. He actually said there were material inconsistencies in Tara's petition and warned her about filing frivolous legal claims. Harper thinks Tara's lawyer is probably starting to realize his client isn't being completely honest with him. The whole thing is getting messy in ways I never expected. I thought the hard part would be dividing assets, but it turns out the emotional warfare is way more exhausting than the financial stuff. Emily came by yesterday and asked if I was okay. I told her I was handling it, but honestly, I am not sure. I keep waking up in the middle of the night wondering what Tara is going to try next. Part of me feels guilty for being so strategic about protecting myself, but then I remember that photo Brent sent me, and I know I made the right choice. The preliminary hearing is scheduled for next month. Harper says we are in good shape, but Tara keeps surprising me with how far she is willing to go. I never thought someone I lived with for 5 years could become this vindictive. Is it normal to feel sad about that even when you know you are doing the right thing? Update 2. So the hearing was scheduled for 1,000 this morning. I showed up with Harper, all our documentation organized in these neat folders, feeling as prepared as we could be. Tara walked in wearing all black like she was going to a funeral, looking pale and defiant. Her boyfriend Nalan was nowhere to be seen, which Harper said was probably smart on his part. Judge Carter is this seasoned guy, probably in his 60s, who has clearly seen every type of divorce drama you can imagine. He had this expression like he was already tired of whatever was about to unfold in his courtroom. Tara's lawyer started off by accusing me of fraudulent asset transfers, claiming I had hidden property from my wife in anticipation of divorce. He made it sound like I was some kind of criminal mastermind who had been planning this elaborate scheme for years. Then Harper stood up, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. She laid out our timeline with surgical precision. Sale contracts, bank statements, notary records, county filing dates, everything documented down to the hour. She showed that every single transaction happened 6 months before Tara ever filed for divorce. Your Honor, Harper said, these weren't hidden transfers. They were legitimate sales at fair market value with proper documentation. If Mrs. Merritt was unaware of these transactions, that speaks to her level of involvement in her own household finances, not to any fraudulent activity by my client. Judge Carter started asking Tara questions directly, and that is when things got really interesting. Mrs. Merritt, did you know your husband sold the family home to his mother? Tara shifted in her seat. I knew she was helping with finances sometimes. I didn't know the specific details. So you didn't review your own household's financial transactions for 6 months. I trusted John to handle those things. But you are claiming he deliberately hid these transactions from you. Well, yes. Judge Carter leaned back in his chair. Madam, you cannot have it both ways. Either you were involved in household finances and should have known about these sales, or you weren't involved, and your husband had every right to make financial decisions. Which is it? Tara's lawyer tried to object, but the judge waved him off. I am trying to understand your client's position. Counselor, the whole thing went downhill for Tara from there. Harper presented evidence of the fair market valuations, showed comparable home sales in our neighborhood, demonstrated that my mother had paid full price for everything. She even had documentation showing that my business assets were clearly separate property established before the marriage. Judge Carter spent about 15 minutes reviewing all the paperwork, asking clarifying questions, making notes. I watched Tara's face change as her lawyer whispered the implications during a brief recess. The confident smirk melted into confusion, then panic. The courtroom was dead silent when we reconvened, except for the sound of papers rustling. Finally, he looked up and delivered his ruling. The house and Lexus remain my mother's property since they were legitimately purchased at fair market value. My business remains solely mine as separate property. We split the joint checking account evenly as agreed. For spousal support, he awarded Tara $750 per MOT for exactly 1 year, way less than the $4,000 she was demanding. Each of us pays our own legal fees, and I get to keep Brutus, our dog, since I had been his primary caretaker throughout the marriage. But the most satisfying part was what Judge Carter noted on the record at the end. He stated that the transfers appeared properly documented and executed at fair market value, and declined to treat them as fraudulent conveyances. He added that the timing and documentation demonstrated clear legal compliance. Harper squeezed my arm under the table, and I had to work really hard not to smile too broadly. Tara looked like she had been hit by a truck. Her lawyer was already packing up his briefcase with this defeated expression. After we walked out, Harper told me she would rarely seen a case go so smoothly in our favor. "Your mother's documentation was perfect," she said. "And your ex-wife's credibility issues didn't help her case at all. I am driving home now to a house that is officially mine again, thinking about how different things could have been if I hadn't listened to my mother's advice 6 months ago. If I had tried to handle this emotionally instead of strategically, Tara probably would have taken everything. I know some people might think what I did was manipulative or cold, but honestly, I protected myself from someone who was planning to destroy me financially while carrying on an affair. I don't feel guilty anymore. I feel relieved. The divorce should be final in about 6 weeks. Emily's coming over tonight to celebrate with takeout and a movie. Brutus is already back to his normal routine, sleeping on the couch like none of this drama ever happened. Maybe that is the right attitude to have. Final update. Hey Reddit, I know it has been a while since I updated you all on my divorce situation, but I wanted to share how everything turned out because so many of you followed this story and gave me support when I really needed it. The divorce finalized in February, exactly as Judge Carter ruled. Tara got her $750 per M for the year, which ends next month, and then we will be completely done with each other financially. She moved to Arizona about 4 months ago, renting some small apartment in Phoenix. I heard through mutual friends that she tried to reconnect with Nalan, but apparently he is dealing with his own problems now. The bank investigation into his conduct resulted in some kind of professional sanctions, and he is struggling to find work in finance. My mother offered to sell the house back to me for the original $410,000. She paid even though the property is worth well over $500,000. Now with the market boom, I bought it back last month completely legitimate, and now it is mine free and clear. The irony isn't lost on me that I ended up with more equity than I started with. I have been spending my evenings remodeling the place, which has been therapeutic in ways I didn't expect. Ripped out the old kitchen where Tara delivered her ultimatum, installed new cabinets myself, built a deck off the back where Brutus likes to lie in the sun. There is something satisfying about creating something new in a space that held so much tension. Business has been better than ever. Emily's taken on more responsibility with the accounting and client management, and we have had to turn down work because we are booked solid through the fall. Having that stability removed so much stress from my life. I actually enjoy going to work again instead of dreading what I might come home to. A few weeks ago, I got a postcard in the mail, postmarked from Phoenix. No return address, just Tara's handwriting. "You won. Hope it was worth it." I looked at it for maybe 30 seconds, then put it in a drawer with the rest of the paperwork from this whole mess. The thing is, I don't feel like I won anything. I feel like I survived something that could have destroyed me. There is a difference there that I am still working through, probably with more therapy sessions than I care to admit. I have started dating casually again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and dinners with women who make me laugh and don't immediately start asking about my assets. It is nice to remember what normal conversation feels like, what it is like to trust someone enough to share a meal without wondering what they are planning. Emily asked me last week if I regret marrying Tara in the first place, and I had to think about that for a long time. I don't regret it. Exactly. For a few years there, we were happy, or at least I thought we were, but I learned something about myself through this whole process. I learned that protecting yourself isn't the same thing as being selfish, and that sometimes love means recognizing when someone is trying to hurt you. The final legal bills came to about $15,000, money well spent considering what I could have lost. Harper sent me a card when everything was finalized that just said "well played." I am keeping that one too. I want to thank everyone who commented on my posts, especially those of you who shared your own stories about protecting yourself during divorce. Reading about other people who had been through similar situations helped me realize I wasn't crazy or vindictive for planning ahead. Sometimes you have to be strategic about your own survival. These days I wake up in my own house, take Brutus for a walk through the neighborhood, and go to work building things with my hands. It is a simple life, but it is mine, and nobody can take it away from me because I am not letting anyone get close enough to try. I didn't ruin Tara's life. I just stopped letting her ruin mine. Sometimes peace of mind really is the best kind of revenge.